Baby shower drama. How one family secret turned the party upside down. I'll be the first to admit, my sister Melissa is a force to be reckoned with. The woman's a planner, a doer, and a by-the-book kind of person. When she set out to organize the most epic baby shower the world had ever seen, I should have known something was up. After all, they say karma's a witch, and my sister may have been unwittingly crouched in the corner, waiting for the perfect moment to unleash a whirlwind of dramatic chaos upon us all. I remember walking our grandparents' house on that fateful Saturday morning, where the Pfizer Bras instant French cafe kit was set up, attempting to bring an airs of sophisticated French flair to the table. My friend Sarah had unwittingly agreed to perform a rendition of Baby Love by the Supremes, leaving the room anticipating a playful rendition of this famous tune. Our gathering was turning out to be even more surreal than ordinary. While I wasn't planning on putting a damper on my sister's perfect day, by no means was I capable of putting the brakes on the rising drama as this day progressed. As my sister Melissa opened up the gifts, I snuck in, tossing a subtle hint of chaos into her meticulously curated universe. My actions, however, would prove to be the tiny spark that set off a veritable inferno of family drama and secret reveals that would leave us all scrambling for air. Amidst all the card games and baby shower games, I was getting increasingly tense as things seemed to be more and more out of hand. It was time to pounce. Within the thick of gift-giving, which eventually descended into an out-of-control confetti fight, of course, the guests had just seen a tiny glimpse of the soap-operatic tale that awaited us. Perhaps a little cruelly foreshadowed by my Aunt Emily suddenly bursting in wearing a vibrant pink sequined number, declaring her upcoming arrival as a born-again evangelical grandma that shook the whole gathering to its core. I still can't believe that the person I was supposed to support and fawn over on her special day turned out to be the biggest pain in the neck. I mean, where's the solidarity? Where's the sisterly love? Apparently, it only existed when Melissa needed help tying her Gucci lace or someone to hand her a cupcake. But let me rewind to the beginning, or rather, the end, if you will. Now, I'm not one to bring up the past, but the day that Melissa uttered those 9 devastating words will forever be etched in my memory like a wound that refuses to heal. Congratulations, you've managed to produce a child that's almost as exciting as a lecture from our great Aunt Edna. Yeah, that's how I'll never forget our family gathering at Biscotti's. Initially, I thought I was just feeling uneasy because Melissa wanted to make all the decisions at her intimate baby shower, and I just wanted to bring my famous 3-layer lasagna. But little did I know, this was only the tip of the iceberg. An iceberg that would shake the foundations of our family dynamics and possibly forever change our relationships. The fact that I, someone guilty of just about every teenage rebellion known to man, was the one who turned out to be the voice of reason when the whole family exploded into chaos is nothing short of miraculous. On the surface, we seemed like your typical suburban family, but trust me, beneath the facade, we were all just pretending to be happy. Yes, even Melissa, who looked like a vision in her Monique Lillier bridesmaid dress. As Melissa's carefully planned and totally on-brand baby shower was about to come to life, you probably didn't think you'd be witnessing the makings of a war between long-standing family members who could barely agree on what to serve at dinner. Little did I know, this particular day would mark the beginning of an all-out civil war. So, buckle up, it's about to get ugly. Growing up with Melissa was like living with a real-life Regina George. You know, the type who'd compliment your dress while simultaneously suggesting it makes you look fat. Picture me wearing my favorite flower print sundress, totally confident and carefree, when Melissa swoops in and says, "Oh, honey, you look great in that, but maybe it makes your thighs look a little bigger than usual." Yeah, that was my sister in a nutshell. I swear our morning conversations were a constant battle of wits, where I'd just want to enjoy a peaceful cup of hot chocolate while she'd find a way to turn it into crisis management. Like the time I wanted to wear my bright pink sweater to school, Melissa informed me that pink was a cheap color, implying that I was too cheap to afford anything better. Or when I asked for her opinion on my new haircut, she'd say I looked like a failed science experiment. It was an existential crisis every morning, trying to navigate my way through high school with Melissa as my partner in crime, or so I thought. We couldn't have more different personalities if we tried. I was and still am a total goofball, while she's a driven type A perfectionist. You'd think our differences would make our relationships smooth sailing, but nope. She took great pleasure in pointing out everything I did wrong, big or small. Our relationship was always complicated. While I chose to marry young and start a family with my amazing husband Jake, Melissa took the corporate route. Nothing wrong with that, except she never missed an opportunity to remind me how I was wasting my potential by becoming a mom at 24. We'd clash over everything, from politics to parenting styles. It got to the point where a simple "how was your week" turned into a heated debate, leaving us both flustered. Looking back, I can see how our competitive nature fueled each other's ambition, but at the time, it felt like a primal scream session every time we talked. Still, I guess you could say our rivalry created a deep-seated bond that's hard to explain, even now when I reflect on our tumultuous early years. Family dynamics are weird, aren't they? Despite all the chaos, I'm grateful for the crazy ride that has been my relationship with Melissa. I still remember the look on Melissa's face when my son Tommy accidentally knocked over his juice box on her designer rug. It was like a work of art, a masterpiece of chaos, with juice spillage dripping down the fabric like a crimson waterfall. I felt my heart sink, knowing that I had to deal with the aftermath. So there we were, at her perfectly planned baby shower. Everything was pink and pristine, just like Melissa herself. She had spared no detail, from the delicate lace curtains to the personalized baby blocks. The whole scene was so idyllic, I half expected a butterfly to flutter in and make a speech about the joys of motherhood. She was opening gifts when my son Tommy decided to contribute to the festivities by knocking over his juice box. I watched in slow motion as the contents of the box spilled all over the rug like a messy, sticky rainbow. It was like time had come to a standstill, and all I could think was, oh no, not on the designer rug. But I shouldn't have been surprised. After all, Tommy is a creative soul, and his idea of helping usually involves creating creative messes. I was waiting for the other shoe to drop, or in this case, the other juice box to spill. And then it happened. Melissa opened her mouth, and that's when she said it, with that sugary sweet smile of hers. Well, what can you expect from a mistake? This is why I waited until I was ready for children. I think my jaw dropped at that point, and I'm pretty sure I heard a few gasps from the other guests. I mean, who says that at a baby shower? Who makes a joke about motherhood being a mistake? It was like she had pulled the pin out of a grenade and tossed it into the middle of the room. The room went silent. I could feel everyone's eyes on me, waiting to see how I'd react. And let me tell you, something inside me just snapped. I think I might have turned a few shades redder, and my face might have contorted into a weird, angry expression. I'm pretty sure I would have exploded on the spot if I hadn't contained myself. But what really took the cake was when Melissa continued, undeterred. I mean, who needs a man when you have goldfish crackers and a functional dryer? Okay, I might have been exaggerating a bit about the last part, but she was basically saying that she was a single mom, and that was the end of it. I'm pretty sure I might have let out a strangled noise, like a cross between a laugh and a growl. It's funny, looking back at that day, I realized that Melissa was actually trying to help us navigate the awkward situation. She was trying to be kind and understanding, even in the face of chaos. But at the time, I just wanted to crawl under a rock and hide. You know, I've been holding on to this secret for 28 years, and let me tell you, it was a doozy. So, Melissa and I didn't exactly grow up in the same household. My mom had a bit of a wild streak back in the day, and she was quite the free spirit. It's a miracle she's still with us today, if I'm being honest. Anyway, it turns out that Melissa's biological father wasn't my dad, but some guy named Tyrone. Yeah, I know, it's a real name, but here's the thing. Tyrone was kind of a player, like a major playboy. He had a thing for my mom back in the day, but she ultimately ended up with my dad instead. So Melissa grew up thinking she was my sister, when in reality she's actually my cousin. Crazy, right? I mean, it's like one of those awkward family reunions where you're like, wait, you're not actually my sister, you're my cousin, from across the street. I think. The funny part is, Melissa had no idea about any of this. I mean, why would she, right? She's been living in this little bubble of perfection, thinking she's part of the golden family, when in reality she's just a pretty, pink-haired imposter. But getting back to the secret, it was a doozy, folks. My parents had been keeping it under wraps for so long, I think they'd almost forgotten about it themselves. My mom's like, "Oh, it doesn't matter anymore. We're all family now." And I'm like, no, Mom. That's like saying a Ferrari is just a regular old car because it's painted brown. The whole family was blindsided, but I have to say it was kind of cathartic to finally get it all out in the open. I mean, think about it. We're talking decades-long secrets and lies. It's like a soap opera, but without the soap, or the opera, or any of the excitement. Oh, wait. It was exciting, for me at least. I got to watch my sister's face turn bright red with rage, and then crumple like a deflated balloon. It was like a party in there. Okay, so the baby shower ended pretty quickly after that messy reveal, as you can probably imagine. But what happened next was like something out of a crazy sitcom. I mean, I'm talking confetti cannons, flashing lights, and a very hastily packed up gift table. But, not in a good way. My mom was totally losing it, running around like Cinderella at the ball, trying to gather all the scattered gifts and apologizing profusely to the guests. I'm pretty sure she was hyperventilating too, but trying to cover it up with her "oh darling" and "sweetie, I'm so sorry" speeches. Meanwhile, my dad looked a very, very angry thunderstorm about to unleash on poor Melissa. His face was beet red, and I'm pretty sure his eyes were flashing, "You're fired!" just like those old school computer screens. He stormed off to find a quiet spot to yell at my mom, no doubt. While Melissa, well, as I mentioned, Melissa just sat there, clutching that poor baby onesie like it was a national treasure. What was even more side-splitting, though, was how I just let her stare at me like I'd just committed the ultimate betrayal. My mom did intervene eventually, trying to shoo her away with some lukewarm words of comfort, but I watched her through it all, wondering if this was indeed a matter of whose eyes would bug out furthest because, Melissa was actually considering being upset right back at me. I swear that whole room was like one gigantic, dysfunctional family outtake scene straight from some crazy reality show. Weeks followed, and things got even crazier. We're talking about the dreaded family drama magnitude 11 level craziness here. My parents' marriage turned into what looked like two separate games of Risk being played side by side, each determined to prove who'd own one actual atom of emotional control left. Sounds snarky now, but honestly, it was messy. Messy like taking all those wacky-colored birthday cupcakes I baked together for me and my friends in elementary school, adding tons of explosive baking soda and lightening that sucker. Anyway, I'm skipping the juicy part about the grandiose who said what to who stage, because everyone's face looks roughly like that picture of shocked. You know the one. Fast forward, my cousin's frantically trying to Google family secret lawyer therapist because family issues, me walking around for what felt like centuries, like the actual walking embodiment of FUD, worst family argument ever described. My mom shoving awkward leftovers of the now abandoned wedding cake, glazed in love chocolate cake, which looked roughly as nice post-burglar break-in, and even my grandfather trying to calm down every squabbling party member with the tried and real valuable wisdom of, "It's just a bit of pasta on your shirt. That pasta will never kill you, dear." Okay, I know FUD doesn't exist in the literal vocabulary of either of my grandparents. After everything blew up, literally, figuratively, and everywhere in between, I had to take a long, hard look in the mirror and ask myself, what's really going on here? It was like Groundhog Day, but instead of Bill Murray, I was the star of my own train wreck. Time to rewire my life and make some decisions that wouldn't land me in therapy. So I took a deep breath, mustered up the courage, and let the ties that bind, or rather the toxic relationships, go by the wayside. I'd like to say it was a dignified, zen-like moment of introspection, but let's be real, it was more like a chaotic tornado ripping through my life, leaving a trail of what-ifs and why-me's in its wake. One thing was for sure, though, it was time to move on. Cutting ties with almost everyone was like severing a tangled mess of thread. It was messy, and some parts were hard to see through. However, for the sake of my sanity and my son's emotional well-being, it had to be done. My dad, bless his heart, was the one person I didn't sever ties with completely. He gets to remain a part of the inner circle, mainly because he's got my kiddo's best interests at heart. And let's face it, kids' birthdays are expensive, and I couldn't bear to take that privilege away from him. It wasn't easy, being the grown-up and slinking away like a snake shedding its skin, but watching my son grow up in a toxic environment would have been harder. I'd rather he learn healthy coping mechanisms and boundaries from someone who knows them, backward and forward. I thought I'd never see the day when Mother would go from stressing about the perfect deviled egg recipe to getting passive-aggressive messages from an unknown accomplice. I remember when these Facebook messages started rolling in. It was like someone had hacked into our family's secret drama-fueled IMDb page and decided to stir the pot a little more. My brother Jake and I received these messages non-stop. They were always signed Concerned Friend, which honestly, we figured was code for jealous Aunt Karen trying to start a mutiny. Anyway, the messages started off pretty straightforward. You know, name, you're being super mean to your mom. Cue eye roll. Like, hello? I'm in a debate with my mom about who ate the last of the leftover potato salad. Side note, it was the dog, but don't tell her. It's not exactly World War III, but because I'm a sucker for a good snarky comeback, my family started assigning Concerned Friend to various relatives, just to see who'd get to do the honor of sending the message next. But things started to get really interesting when the messages transitioned from guilt trips to full-blown family bashing. Your uncle's a giant loser, the messages would claim. Or, you know what's really unhealthy? Your eating habits. Yeah, we took that as a sure sign that someone had finally snapped under the pressure of our Thanksgiving dinner politics. It didn't take long for us to piece together that Aunt Karen's cousin was secretly handling Concerned Friend. Because who else would take the time to compose these gems of wisdom, all while trying to hide their identity with overused MS Paint styles? I dug out Grandma's old VHS player, flipped it on, and tried to record Concerned Friends sent messages while we both giggled so hard we snorted seltzer water out our noses. It quickly became our weekend entertainment of choice. Who knew passive-aggressive Facebook trolls could bring so much joy to our lives? When the craze started to lose steam, Jake asked if Concerned Friend was still out there drumming up plans for our downfall. I just shook my head, started counting down from 10, and told him it was time to put the mystery to rest. Just like a boss. And so, with a flourish and a thumbs up, we both closed the laptop lid, rolled our eyes in unison, and began mentally drafting a note to Grandma with a wish list for the holiday season that read, "Anonymous message service courtesy of Aunt Karen's cousin." It's been 6 weeks since the divorce papers were finalized, and you know what that means? We're officially moving on to the next chapter of this twisted soap opera. My ex-husband Jake and I are both still getting used to being single again. One thing's for sure, we're not doing it alone. My mom is still in the picture, trying to fix everything and everyone. I put that in quotes because, honestly, it's more like she's just causing chaos and adding fuel to the fire. Like the time she called me accusingly, saying, "You're just making a big show out of this whole thing." I replied, "Mom, I'm not making a show, I'm just reflecting the circus your life has become." My dad, on the other hand, is finally living in a smaller place closer to us. And by finally, I mean he needed to downsize after going through most of his life savings in, family reconciliation sessions. Don't even get me started on those hours we all spent in couples therapy, reminiscing about our favorite family memories and attempting not to cry, only to have him slip up and refer to Melissa as his daughter one last time. As for the newly single life, Jake just got a new puppy named Bella, and I promptly replied to his photo of her, all teeth and fur, reminding me that pets are basically the best, by saying, "Now you'll never be alone again, except for when you are, because she's going to destroy your house." He wrote back saying, "You're the best." Okay, that's basically the highlight of our post-divorce lives so far. No drama, no fighting. Oh wait, who am I kidding? There's still drama, but there's at least less of it. All in all, at least we're keeping it light. Right? Now that I've had a chance to relive that epic baby shower disaster, I'm still left wondering, do I regret it? Honestly, kind of, but only a little. Okay, fine, it's a lot, but for all the wrong reasons. Like, think about it. The day would have been just another ordinary celebration, boring jokes and stale finger foods aplenty. Or I could have chosen to drop a bombshell that turned the entire proceedings into an unforgettable circus. Call me crazy, but handing out that little secret felt like an adventurous twist that turned the room upside down, in ways that still make me chuckle. In all seriousness, while everyone else scrambled to process, eat cake, and have vague, unrelated conversations, I continued enjoying the knowing giggle I co-contained in a stunned public. You know, the one reserved for those who just experienced and simultaneously witnessed the eventful history of that single awkward disclosure. So yeah, it sounds pretty weird when I put it that way. Looking back, most partygoers walked into the door not knowing what secrets the husband really possessed. Fast-forwarding years later, these same people look back at those awkward, shocked faces in unending laughter, highlighting how great the unpredictable shock of the whole situation really was. Still, would it have been better to keep my mouth shut, preserving the status quo, and to prevent any family chaos? Sure, that would have led to a nice little memories album without adding a memorable twist that's definitely become etched in history. However, take it for what it's worth, and believe it or not, that's exactly what that peculiar incident helped me establish.